right. We got media specialists, master specialists in media, right? Candace, Joseph. I mean, you do the borders. You gonna do media. You do all kinds of things. You show up in every realm you can when it comes to marketing, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. And then we have a nutritionist. And I know we all are trying to figure out what's going on with our health. Am I right? Yeah, we right? Sarah. All right. So we all come together in different realms, but we all are connected in some kind of way. So the main question that I want to ask you guys is, when it comes to creating a safe space, right? As a creative, as an intellect, right? When you educate yourself, when you salute yourself, right? When you solitude yourself, how do you protect your safe space? And also, while you're protecting your safe space, engaging with the world at the same time, because that's what we got to do, right? One at a time. Sarah, we got Sarah. Okay.
I'll take this
Sarah,
one first.
Creating a safe space, but also engaging with the world.
Yes. The first thing that came to mind was self. So in self-reflection, stripping away from the ego, and it takes years, it takes practice. It humbles you. And so in finding self, listening to the body, mind, spirit, I think you can engage in the outside world more appropriately, because you can conduct yourself in a way and you don't have to match energy per se. You stick to how you feel, how you believe, how you want to move, and then practice what you preach. I think I would say that as well. But mainly it's knowing within yourself so that you can be outflowing to others. One other thing, like kindness. I mean, that's kind of universal, not kind of, it is. So being kind onto yourself to allow you to be kind onto others, and those people will see that kindness and hopefully reflect that back onto you.
I see.
Ooh, safe spaces, right?
A safe space.
Man, safe spaces come in your surroundings. How it looks, how it feels, how it smells. Like, you want to tap into all your senses when you think about a safe space. But in your safe space is also the people that surround you too. Because you have to be, if you want to be safe and protected, you got to be around great people all the time. In my office, we create that family vibe. We take care of each other. We help each other, in every aspect of life. But it starts with the space itself. We have to make sure the space is cleansed. We have to make sure that it's decorated right. We have to make sure that it catches a vibe all the way through. And how we protect it is that we let people know, hey, when you walk through the door here, you're family. We're going to take care of you. We're going to protect you. We're going to make sure you're great. And as long as you do that, you'll always be protected in whatever space you're in.
I like that. So a lot of the times it's easier said than done, right? When you're in a space where you feel like you kind of gotta be there, like you're in a transition, right? Like, I know where I want to be, and I feel like these are the people or the opportunity that's gonna get me to the next level, right? But sometimes they don't. Sometimes you don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Especially as a nutritionist. Right, as a nutritionist, because I'm heavily into nutrition as well, right? There's a certain conversation that you can engage with certain people, right? But there's also a level of vulnerability and empathy that you got to have to people that don't understand who you are, right? But you're also, even though they don't understand who you also are trying to get them to understand your logic, but also trying to protect the covenant of what you do every day on a daily basis to make sure that you're sacred in your mind, you know what I'm saying, that you're living out what it is that you're supposed to be doing, you know what I mean? So I would love to know, like, the challenges of getting people to understand what it is that you believe, but also understanding where they are, to where they're not triggering you. Like you could educate, right? You could educate, but they're not triggering you, right? You could educate, but you're not sacrificing yourself. You know what I mean? How does that look? Where you're educating, but not sacrificing.
I mean, education is going to come with the sacrifice, right? So a lot of times
That's good.
we think about that we're not sacrificing, but we're sacrificing our time, we're sacrificing our energy, you know, and even while that moment, that person is in front of us, we're sacrificing our space. But the question is the sacrifice worth the purpose behind the sacrifice, right? So sometimes you got to dig a little deeper than just surface with it. You can protect yourself in all spaces. You can educate without sacrificing who you are as a person, your principles, you know what I mean, your morals and who you are. But we do have to remember, as entrepreneurs, we're here to solve problems. So we're going to give a piece of ourselves to everyone we meet. We just have to know, are they worth the sacrifice? You see what I'm saying?
How do you know that, though?
Sometimes you don't know, and sometimes you have to be okay with not knowing and accepting what just is and what bees. You know what I mean? Yeah. I know that's incorrect grammar, but you have to accept what is in all realms, because if we're here for our gifts and to share with the universe, we can't worry about if people get what we're laying down. We just hope they spin the block and catch it a little bit later. You know, they got to spin the block.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Shit, I don't know if I can really top that, but I guess just from personal experience, food, as a clinical nutritionist, food is everywhere. What connects people, it brings people together. And so what I do to combat that vulnerability is allowing myself to be vulnerable with my clients. And then not only that, but respecting, for example, their cultural foods, not wanting to go out of bounds between what they want to eat and what may be a healthier alternative for them. So it's definitely respecting them, listening to them, and acknowledging their beliefs, their strengths, their weaknesses, what they want to improve on, and just tailoring, you know, allowing yourself to be vulnerable to showcase that and say that this is a safe space, this is a safe environment to grow and learn, because then when they're accepting of that, the education comes smoother.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. It's really good because a lot of people are stuck in their ways, right? A lot of people, I mean.
I'm stubborn.
You know what I mean? But to have somebody that accepts you where you are, you know what I mean, and sees where you're trying to go, and then create that space together where we could graduate together, right? So, as a marketing specialist, as a nutritionist, because these are both very vulnerable things. A lot of people, we have creatives all over the place right now, Candace. I call her Seeking, you know what I'm saying? But we have marketing, we have people all over the place, right? Stories all over the place. There's a lot of different ways to market an individual being to the way that's authentic to them. When it comes to nutrition, right? A lot of people don't know what they're around, unfortunately, but we all want to go there, right? So let's say this: when it comes to cutting out the fat, the distractions, right? What would you guys suggest the best way to cut out all the distractions, even when it feels good? You got that fat. Let's think about bacon.
Bacon.
The pig, the vulture, right? But it tastes so good, right? But we got to cut all the distractions and get to the nitty-gritty of things. What do you think? What do you guys suggest is the best way to focus on what you need to focus on and neglect the distractions, even though you are in love with the distractions?
Do you want to go first? Okay, I feel like you have.
Y'all need to listen to this one.
I can start with that one. Sometimes in order for us to get to the goal, we need the distractions.
Ooh, that's good, Candace.
Okay? Some distractions are there to entertain us. Some are there to persuade us. Some of that to inform us. So sometimes you need the distraction Because we have to remember, like, we're human beings. We can't run at 1,000 paces per minute. You're going to have distractions everywhere. Distractions can be, a client not paying on time. It could be you sitting in traffic. It could be the fact that your cell phone died. Like, distractions are everywhere. It's all about how you maneuver through them and know that at the end of the day, you're bigger than the distraction. The distraction can only cause you not to reach your goal if you give it enough energy and space to grow.
That's good.
Bigger than the purpose, bigger than the dream.
Yeah.
And if you're someone that truthfully can't live without the distractions, or you need to cut out the distractions, sometimes you got to do that distraction cold turkey. Sometimes people want to be a part of the journey without doing the work. Cut the distractions. Sometimes the distraction is you.
Ooh.
Sometimes you are your own distraction. But you got to know what lane the distraction plays a part in it. Is it greater than a purpose? Is it greater than a goal? If your distraction is a person, maybe you don't need to cut them out. Maybe you need to give them a different lane to fit in.
Yeah.
Maybe the distraction is an idea that keeps playing over and over in your mind. Sometimes you got to sit with that and write out, how can this distraction, how can this thing that I'm thinking about, how can it grow bigger than me, but how does it fit into my purpose? I say cut out any distraction that don't fit into the purpose. But remember, the distractions are a part of the plan and the journey. So sometimes you have to embrace the distractions to get to the journey. Straight up.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Trust the struggle. Keep it pushing. You had a great example with the bacon because I'm a sucker for BLTs. So one of the things that I had to do was kind of moderate, and everything can be enjoyed in moderation. And that's one thing that I tell my clients is every food can be a part of your health journey as long as you can moderate that and not have it be like self-sustaining you. For example, bacon, turkey bacon might not taste as good,
right,
but it's a healthier alternative. And then maybe slowly retreating from that, and like, for example, meatless Mondays, one alternative to get away from meat or bacon. But I definitely agree with everything that you're saying. You have to take a look from within because you might be the distraction, and then trusting that struggle, trusting that distraction to either elevate you or hold you back. And what's going to be harder at the end, do you think?
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I want to add to that a little bit. Sometimes people thrive in chaos because they cannot identify without it.
Ooh, that's good.
See what I'm saying? Like, some people got to have that drama, they got to have that distraction, they got to always got to have something going on, because without it, they have no identity.
Right.
So sometimes you have to use your discernment and know which way to go with that. Because sometimes you might not see that person coming, but they coming.
Yeah.
They're coming towards you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that person can't get out of their own way. So they're going to stop you from reaching your goal because they're used to being a distraction. They thrive off of it.
Right.
So,
It's all about intentionality, right?
Yep.
If you're intentional about where you're trying to go, if you're intentional about where you're trying to go, I feel like you will attract the people, the circumstances, the opportunities, even the distractions. You will attract the distractions that's going to allow you to get to the next point.
Oh,
if you are
me, I know about
intentional
that.
of where you're trying to go. Right? So, nutrition, because I know there's mindsets. There's different levels of mindsets that you got to go through, right? So some people, you get to the point where I ain't finna get up nothing. But then you go to the point of like, I know I need to try to get over something, but I ain't trying to ready. But then you go to the point of like, all right, I'm ready, but I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? So what would you say, Sarah, as a nutritionist, what would you say is the best way for, and this is nutrition, but it could go into like all kinds of realms, right? When you're trying to elevate to a new space of your life, what would you say is the best course of action when it comes to elevating to the next level? I want to say it correctly. Elevating to the next level, even though you do not have, you not yet have the desire to do it. How do you get yourself in a space where I want to do it? I know I want to lose 20 pounds, but I am in no way, shape, or form ready to do the things that's necessary for me to lose 20 pounds, right? How do you switch your mindset to do the thing that's necessary for you to get to the next level?
I think the best answer that I can provide you is checking that ego, because that's really going to be the main factor in allowing you to succeed, allowing you to make that first step. And the goal, like you said, for example, 20 pounds to lose. That goal right there, cut that shit in half. Cut that goal in half. And then that, you cut it again in half. And you make that small attempt. And you're going to fail. And you're going to fail again. But the best thing that you can do for yourself is to pick yourself up and try again. There is no success without failure. And acknowledging that ego within to check it, you can make that first step. And I love telling my clients, you know, that goal you have, it's beautiful, but cut it in half. And then that, cut it in half again so that you can be accountable, self-sustainable, and know that you're not making that big old leap. And then when you fail, like, oh, well, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. I love that.
My
I love
chair
that. I
keeps
love that.
turning, I'm so sorry.
I love that. I love that. Because most times we do give ourselves big goals because we look at ourselves and we're like, I could do that.
Well, we have such
You know
high
what I'm saying?
standards for ourselves,
Yeah.
and that's only the human in us. But it's, yeah, checking the ego and allowing yourself to cut goals to where it's attainable for you.
You got to be honest with yourself.
Honest, that's the
Be
word.
authentic with yourself.
Authentic. Yep.
Authentic. You. Candace, what would you say as a marketing specialist? Because a marketing expert, I would say, right? So you deal with multiple brands across multiple industries, right?
Right.
You dealing with somebody that has nothing. I have no idea. This is where I am. This is where I want to go. I have no idea how to get there, right? Or you're dealing with people like, this is where I am. What are you gonna do to get me bigger? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you get people to settle down and say, I have work to do, but I don't know how to get there, and I need help to get there.
You know, look, my strategy is simple. We're going to play a game of chess and we're going to talk, right? Because a lot of times our goals, we look at our goals and we quantify them in different ways. It's all about really what you value. If someone comes to my office and they say, hey, I need to get to this place, but I don't know where to start, you made the right decision in giving me a call in the first place. Let's talk about your dreams, your hopes. We don't have to make a plan today. Yeah. Let's sit down and talk about the dreams and the hopes and what you want to do. Yeah. Now, in my mind, I'm ticking. I'm thinking about, okay, what's worked for them? What hasn't worked for them? How did they get to this point? Is that something that's sustainable, or do we got to switch gears? You sit down and you think about every aspect of your company. You think about the start, because a lot of times what I found is entrepreneurs will forget they why in the first place. They're so worried about chasing a dream, chasing a goal, chasing the accolades. They forget why they started in the first place. So for me, any entrepreneur that comes to the door, I got to remind them of their why and why they got started, and remind them of the journey.
Yeah.
Then we're going to make a plan.
Yeah.
We're going to reverse engineer it. Where you want to be and where you are now. Yeah. But we're going to start with where they want to be. We're going to write out the macro goals. Then we're going to write out the micro goals. And then we're going to get started.
That's good.
Let's go.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, let's go.
So the last thing I want to touch on, and I think that a lot of people need to have some kind of touch on this, boundaries. Boundaries, right? So we're elevating, but we're also at a space where we're trying to connect with our peers, right? We're trying to connect with the people we grew up with. We're trying to connect with ourselves. But how do you create boundaries for the spaces of like, okay, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, this is the boundary I gotta have so I can get to that space, but these are the people that's still in my life, these are the people I want to be in my life, but I don't know those people yet. How do you create boundaries in a space of an unknowing situation, but you know intuitively that this is what you need to do? How do you create that boundary?
Listen, you got to set the boundary.
What does that look like, Candace?
Okay, so the boundary can look in different ways. Just because somebody grew up with you, they're your childhood friend, they don't mean that they're there for the rest of the journey.
Ooh, that's good.
They were there for the start. The people that you grew up with, they're a part of your DNA. They're encoded in you, so they're never going to leave. Just that when you talk about elevation and you're going to the next point, if you can't pull up the person that's beside you that you grew up with and give them a space in your world, if they're not ready, it's okay. Because everybody that's with you, they're not ready for the blessing.
That's good.
You're at the point where you're ready for the blessing of elevation. They're not there yet. Yeah. It's okay to move forward in that. You're not forgetting anybody because they're coded within you. What we have to do as entrepreneurs and as people that are in an elevation state, how can we elevate this person? But if they're not mentally ready, you got to be okay with leaving them behind. You have to be okay with that. I set boundaries very simply. If it's somebody from our past, look, we got those friends. We got those friends we can gossip with. We got those friends we can talk ideas with. We got our friends that's going to remind us about what happened on the block 20 years ago. We got all of that, right? But at the same time, sometimes you got to put people in lanes and know that you got to set that boundary. I got some people now, they can call me on the phone. I'm going to give them exactly 5 minutes because I know after that, the conversation is pointless.
Intentionality. Yeah.
You got to be okay with setting limits. I set phone limits. I also set time limits. You can't just walk in my office without an appointment. I make my parents make an appointment with me just to have lunch. Reason being because we have to set those boundaries and let people know, no, I'm a professional, you're going to treat me as such. But I also have to remember, too, that a part of who I am is a part of them, too. So I can't just sit back and say, okay, I'm not going to help try to pull up my brother or my sister. But at the same time, if they're not ready, and I don't think we could talk about it as old school days, I got to let you know when my time permit that. Set your boundaries. Take that time up for yourself. Chunk and make meetings for yourself. But also, give your time to your friends. Like you have date night with your partner, have a date night with your friends. That's another way that you can keep that connection with them as you elevate. You give them the time.